from Sahara TV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Education, inspiration, Sahara TV, they get mouth, they get mouth.
Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. This is a special edition of our show and it's dedicated to the memory and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Our special guest today is Pastor Tunde Bakare, the leader of the Latter Rain Assembly and the convener of the Save Nigeria group. Pastor Bakare, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much. Nice being with you.
Let me start by asking you, just as we were going on air today, we just heard that a breaking news that some militants attacked the convoy of the Emir of Kano. I wanted to get your reaction to that news.
Well, such things are becoming regular occurrences of bomb explosions, attack by either Boko Haram or those who are attacking innocent civilians or targeting government agencies and government buildings. It's become so regular in recent times that it's becoming sickening. I had the report, but we are waiting for official report to know how many people died. I understand this driver was killed, and so 2 people with him, and also his first son, the Siroma of Kano, was also attacked. So we are waiting for official confirmation of those things. But it's sad, it's unfortunate, it's pathetic.
Now, this has been going on for long, as you said, and when the government is trying to give the impression that they are under control, that the situation is under their control, does that give you the confidence that they have control of things?
Well, you know, how government sees things and how the people see it are different. He who wears the shoes knows where it pinches. They are secured behind their high fence and their barbed wire, and they're voting more money on daily basis. The more the money they voted, the more the tension that is in the country. But those who are telling Mr. President and other people are giving them report where everything is under control. It was such categorical statement that probably led to the early retirement or sack of Azazi before they appointed the President Dazuki to do the same thing. But rather than getting better, it's getting worse.
Let's go to Martin Luther King. What does Martin Luther King mean to you?
Martin Luther King means a number of things to me. Number one, his nonviolence approach to solving societal crises is very remarkable. It symbolized virtue and good overcoming evil. There's hardly any book he wrote or books written about him that I've not read. I remember in my university days his books, The Trumpet of Conscience, The Strength to Love, and all his writings. I studied them to know what kind of man he was. You will recall that in the early 40s and 50s, African American churches began to participate in public life throughout the United States. But rather than initiating change, all these movements, NAACP and the rest of them, they were merely responding to crises originating elsewhere until Martin Luther King came and with his administrative skill, organizational ability, and of course his ability to articulate issues and to bring them forth in a clear manner, began to stir up things, and rather than responding to crises, he began to initiate change. Even in Nigeria today, his message that he gave on August 20, 1963, I Have a Dream, is almost everybody's phone here. He touched the world and he contributed his quota. His dream came to pass. We have a black man in the White House. His legacy cannot be rubbished and cannot be erased.
Now, Reverend King believed that as part of his religious duty, it's not just about prayer, but also taking action. He championed the causes of the poor and the oppressed. Now, he called himself a drum major for justice. Do we have a drum major for justice in Nigeria, and do we need one?
Well, there are several people, if you look in our history, not many of them were from the church. The Gadfly, Gani Fawaimin, the likes of Gani Fawaimin, the likes of Professor Wale Soyinka, and the likes of Beko Ransom Kuti, Fela in his own way. Those people, at several times, some are late now. Professor Wale Soyinka is still here. He marched with us in January of 2010, and he kept on being a pillar behind what is doing. Definitely, we need drum major for social justice in every country in Africa. Nigeria, in particular, at this time, that the shape of the nation seems to be like a Titanic going somewhere to sink. We need drum major in social justice. We need those who will speak. We need voices. We don't need noise anymore. We need them, and I'm sure they are everywhere in this country today.
Now, you are mentioned as one of the people who is outspoken and who is actually living up to that legacy. And Martin Luther King also said that disturbing the comfortable and comforting the disturbed is one of his missions. I'm wondering, are you tempted sometimes to make that a goal of yours?
Well, Martin Luther King came, contributed his quota, and left the planet. There will never be another Martin Luther King, but there will be people of the same passion, of the same spirit, like Jesus said concerning John, that if you are looking for Elijah to come, that's it there. There will be so many people, and in a little way, I might be contributing my quota. But the truth is, I can't just stand oppression. Regardless, I can't stand oppression, I can't stand illegality. And that was what led to my summoning civil society leaders to Sheraton on the 7th of January, and I led the march that culminated in the things we were doing then to see that Jonathan became the acting president and eventually the president after the death of Umaru Yar'Adua. Injustice to one is injustice to all. And if good men will not rise up, perverts will continue to dominate the dirty waters of politics.
One of King's legacy was what they describe as his attempt to awaken and instigate what they call the anger of American people, the fierce anger of American people. I believe you've tried things like that. How successful have you been? And if not, why?
Well, I will be very down to earth with you. One of the, apart from visions and dreams and personal persuasion, which I usually don't make public, part of public discourse, when Obama became the president of America and he won the election the first term, I saw Nigerians trooping to the streets. I saw clothes made in his honor, written all over them, his name. I saw them jubilating and buying drinks for themselves. I came to the conclusion that social mobility is not frozen. It is quality leadership that is lacking. And, well, maybe history, maybe a sense of destiny, maybe patriotism. All of them added together, I decided to step into the terrain to awaken a sleeping giant, to unblock the minds of Nigerians, and to let them realize that sovereignty belongs to them, and they can use their voice, their vote, to change any bad government that is not taking care of the welfare of the people. And SNG has been on that vanguard since 2010. There's no stopping. We just finished a major one on Monday, and the result of that is what you saw today in the newspaper, The Punch, the interview they granted me after our Monday anniversary of the Ojota March over President's pump price increase of PMS in Nigeria. So we're doing our bit, and others are getting up also. The crisis in January 1 of last year And the formidable response from Nigerians have shown that the government cannot sleep anymore. They're sleeping with both eyes open, not even one eye open, one eye closed. They've not been able to increase the pump prices, then though some stations are selling it illegally. But above that, their corruptive tendencies have now been exposed, and they know that these people are in government, is more or less government of the crook, but the crook for the crook. They're not interested in the welfare of the citizens. They're just amassing wealth for themselves, and except they cannot see it, the handwriting is on the wall for those who have eyes to see.
I know the last time we spoke, I asked you this question, and I want to ask you again. Other pastors and leaders of churches in Nigeria, do they feel that there is the need to go beyond praying for the country, to take what Martin Luther King called direct action to demand for change? Or is it that it's only people like you that are looking at it as something that is needed?
To be honest, you cannot say it's only me. There are several other people joining us in what we are doing. Some are not necessarily vocal. Some hardly will come out. Remember the story of Elijah. To every Elijah, there are other 7,000 prophets who do not bow their knees to Baal. So what is clear today is aid, like food, like medicine, that the church has been involved with, can only meet the needs of those who are dying of hunger or who are sick. But those who are under oppression or injustice need more than such aid. They need advocacy. So mission today is no longer just aid. It's aid with serious advocacy until we get the word of those who have been oppressed to those in the corridor of power to do something about it and to stir up the people to demand for what is their legitimate right, because the purpose of government is welfare of the people. So there are many ministers. For example, during the PMS crisis in January of 2012, there was a Methodist Anglican bishop or leader in Ekiti who led the march. So it's not one man show anymore. And I think the tribe of those people are increasing. So those who are silent and who are compromising and receiving gifts from stolen wealth, they will begin to change their mind as time goes on, because their congregation will be asking them questions. Why are you not advocating? Why are you not speaking truth to power? And why are you compromising just praying for them?
In his first speech to the Southern Christian Conference leadership, King said, and I quote, "We have no alternative but to protest. For many years, we have shown an amazing patience. We have sometimes given our white brothers the feeling that we like the way we've been treated. But we come here tonight to be saved from that patience that makes us patient with anything less than freedom and justice." How can we, because the same thing can be applied to Nigerian situation, how can we make the Nigerian people to stop being patient about their situation and the lack of freedom and justice in Nigeria?
I really do not think that they are patient and they are trying to endure all that they are going through. I don't think they are patient. Now, some of the outcome or the effect of bad governance in our land is what you see the youth doing now. Every time you see violence, you see young people. When you see armed robbers, you see young people. If they are caught at all, they are young people. Some of them are graduates. You will recall that a little while ago, Dangote advertised for drivers, and hundreds of PhD holders and graduates showed up for a position for 16 or 20 people. That is a pathetic state of our nation. The truth of the matter is, I don't think Nigerians are patient any longer. A sleeping giant had risen up. It's a question of time. You will see that they will come up to demand for what is legitimately theirs. I must also add this. Israel was in slavery for 400 years until Moses rose up and started challenging Pharaoh, "Let my people go." And when the oppressed get to the place where they don't care anymore, it is a constitution that cannot bend, that will break. What we need and advocates of Moses Taliban in capacity to stand and to lead the people, and who will not be doing it for selfish interests or for self-aggrandizement. We'll be doing it because time had come for people to be delivered. I perceive very strongly that the year 2013 is a year of Nigeria's deliverance from the oppressors.
Now, Martin Luther King talked about just and unjust laws, and he said that just as you have the moral rights and obligation to obey the just laws, that everybody should disobey the unjust laws. I was wondering, you complained a lot in the media about recently when you paid 72 million for a certificate of occupancy. And I'm wondering, are you not obeying an unjust law?
No, what happened is I met with His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, and I told him, hey, here I am. I'm a citizen of this country, law-abiding. I have one driver's license. I have one international passport. You are now forcing me to go take two titles for one parcel of land. Because when I bought that land from PHCN, I got a federal CFO, and he now showed me the Constitution that truthfully, when they acquire those land, they acquire for public use. When they're no longer going to use it for public use, they should have returned it to Lagos State. And because federal has no right under the Constitution, especially the selfish and greed-oriented Land Use Act that Obasanjo imposed in the 1979 Constitution, just to amass land everywhere, the right to issue certificate of occupancy was vested in the governor of a state. And since the land was in the state, rather than issuing me another CFO, what they would do is called regularization. They will regularize it, and they were charging per square meter, and that's when they put the 72 million naira imposition upon me. I paid it. I'm waiting for that certificate to come out so that I can join both and advise my lawyers to take necessary action. No, I'm not obeying unjust laws. Disobedience to tyranny is obedience to God.
Let me ask you, because a lot of people who read that and people who were commenting, and they were wondering, how much did you buy the land that you have to pay 72 million for the certificate of occupancy?
350 million. And I took the loan from Sterling Bank. I took the loan of 500 million from the Sterling Bank. I paid for the land, and I paid for the regularization. And now that it's built, I'm paying back the loan by, I think, May. I've finished paying the loan, because once the properties are built, you have tenants and you can sell to other people. That's what happened, sir. I bought it for 350 million.
Okay, we'll come back to that, because I want to get your opinion about the tenancy law in Lagos. You complained that they changed the law to make people pay now for just 1 year. It wasn't clear whether you were in support of the old system where people had to pay for 2 years.
Well, laws are made for the benefit of the people. As a matter of fact, the Bible says law is made for the lawless. Lawful people don't have to fear any law made. But some of the laws are totally unjust, and I will tell you. I lived in Britain, I lived in America. There was no time before I bought properties in those countries, there was no time I paid more than 2 months' rent, maximum 2 months. And by the time you are paying 3 months, it will be because you offered to, not because anybody demanded. All they will ask you is 1 month rent and 1 month deposit, in case they want to eject you from the property or you leave without paying the last rent. But in our nation, the social cushion, that will cushion those things are not there. You ask a young graduate who just finished school, coming out to come and pay a year rent, and you don't pay him a year salary in advance. You are training him to be corrupt. You're training him to steal. Government is not building enough properties for people. So private investors will go to the bank to take loan, some who don't have stolen wealth, to build these properties for others to occupy. Either they sell it or they let it out. I've not involved myself directly in letting properties. have been able to sell because that has no restriction whatsoever over it. Until the government can meet the needs of people in terms of mass housing, that law is a waste of time. Because what they're doing now is to say, well, you pay us 1 year and the other one, we will not restrict it, or 2 more years. They are doing all kinds of things to violate that law because the government is making the law, is not giving the money to the landlords to pay, and not everybody has access to the bank. Another law recently was the one made that, okay, if you are driving, you must not eat. And say, no, you can't tell the people who are in traffic for 4 or 5 hours not to eat while they're driving. Because while they stand there, in case of medication, if they have to use their medicine at a particular time, laws must have human face, or else it will be disobeyed and disobeyed like the SOT law in India until you revoke it.
Now, you always talk during your interviews that there are some people who are promoted beyond their mental capability and that they are operating in our corridors of power, and that it's a shame on the nation. Do you think that the Nigerian people are ashamed of these people?
Well, it will not be every Nigerian, because not every Nigerian knows exactly what's happening in those areas. An inept leadership is a man promoted into an office that he has no mental capacity to comprehend, talk less of executing that office very well. And we have many of them. I've engaged some of them. They'll just tell you, I don't know. I don't know. And you say, what exactly do you know? Well, I will ask this minister, I will ask that commissioner. That's exactly what's going on here. The worst of us are presiding over the best of us. And it's a big shame. That's why all right-thinking Nigerians must open their eyes and demand for what is just and what is right. And let us make all those offices, except that of the executive president, legislators, let it become part-time. Let every man go work and serve the nation. I remember that the first American president, it said publicly, other than everything that I will need to execute this office, I do not want salary. As I said before, I want to serve my nation. There must be people like that who are willing, who are already content. God has blessed them, and they have the wherewithal, the mental capacity. They must be willing to step into the terrain to bring change, or else we're just postponing the doomsday.
Now, in today's interview in The Punch, you described President Jonathan kneeling down before Pastor Adeboye as something like he does not recognize the dignity of his office, kneeling down in public, and that he diminished the office of the president and does not deserve to stay there for another day. Your critics are saying that you are saying this because he didn't come to your church to kneel down before you. What is your...
The truth of the matter is, you can take all the tapes in our ministry and watch. I do not bow before men, I bow before God. I kneel before God. He said, when you want to pray, enter into your closet and kneel down. It's between you and God. Now, remember, when Cornelius saw Peter in Acts of the Apostles chapter 10, Peter came in, an angel had told Cornelius about Peter. When Peter came in, the Bible says, Cornelius fell down and worshiped, and Peter pulled him up and said, I myself am a man. Show me one American president who not publicly before Billy Graham when they were being sworn in. I don't care what a man does behind the scene. You can kneel down, you can roll down, you can do whatever, you can fluff fast, but you represent an office, and you can't just cheapen that office because you're number one citizen, and kneeling down just to be politically or religiously correct is just the act of imbecility. That's not humility, that's stupidity.
Now, let me ask you, because you've been at the forefront of this struggle to save Nigeria, and there are a lot of causes, a lot of things that demand continuous agitation for change. I know that there are logistic problems, and you talked about it when last time we spoke. You said that you don't want to risk getting people on the street and getting them killed. I remember too in 1963 when Martin Luther King led a demonstration in Alabama, people criticized him for that because they let the dogs out and fire hoses on people and children. But can you win this war without taking risk? Can you win the demand for change? Can the government respond when the people who are demanding it are not taking risk?
The truth of the matter is, you do not find the oppressor the leaving power to the oppressed. It must be demanded. And there's nothing in this life that does not involve risk. Leaving your home to go to work is a risk because of our bad roads. How many people have died in accidents? I pray we don't get to that level. But the day will come when what happened in Israel will happen to us. To your tent, O Israel, and people will no longer be afraid, even to pay the ultimate price for whatever they believe. Because if what you believe is not worth dying for, then it's not worth living for. As a matter of fact, if God says that's the way we will go, who cares? For me to live is Christ, to die is gain. That's why I took all my family, my children, to Ojota all the days of that protest. And there's no protest we have done that you don't find my wife and my children marching on the street. Because if I want to bring other people out, I can't keep mine in secret. I've demonstrated that over and over again. But honestly, I do not want any person's child killed. These are ruthless men. These are wicked people. Rather than listening to the voice of the oppressed, they will rather roll out the machine guns of their oppression. But they will soon find out that nobody has monopoly of violence. God has his own armory. He rained from heaven on people before. It might look like it can't happen again, but it's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And where is Abacha? And where are all the powerful men of yesteryears? Where is Mobutu Sese Seko? Where is Gaddafi? I saw the former president of Egypt, Mubarak, being brought in on a stretcher. Isn't that enough lesson for these people if they have any native intelligence at all? But they don't know what happened to those before them will also happen to them. The time will come when the people will say, we can't have it anymore, do what you want to do.
I was surprised in today's Punch interview where you said that 2015 may not happen. And coming from you and knowing that the opposition parties in Nigeria are trying to come together to form a central force against the PDP, are you saying that you don't have any confidence in the process?
No, you read it, what I said, as a number one, to be calling anyone opposition leader and be calling some parties opposition parties in a presidential system is a misnomer, except if the party in power does not have majority in the National Assembly. It's a misnomer. It's winner takes all. We have been so used to parliamentary system that we still think we are in opposition. What can you oppose? They have the majority. What you can do is to put your house in order. However, an amalgam or a merger of birds of different feathers is a disaster going somewhere to happen. The other day, ACN accused PDP that there are so many criminals amongst them, and PDP responded. The number of criminals in ACN are more than those in PDP. I'm yet to see where the debate will go. The truth of the matter is we want to see national parties emerge, but it must be the best of the North and the best of the South coming together to rescue our nation. Or else, exposed politicians cannot successfully lead this merger. What will happen is PDP will show them their red card, and that's the end of it. That's what we don't want them to thwart. It's a welcome idea for those who are clean and for those who know they have no skeleton in their cupboard.
Now, let me ask you, the governor of the central bank recently said that some regional organizations and religious groups should be banned. He specifically mentioned CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria. I wanted to get your take on that. Do you think that those organizations that he mentioned, that their existence is actually a threat to the unity of the country?
Well, if you read what SLA said, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, the governor of Central Bank, he said some of them have been hijacked and taken advantage of by the elite to promote their own agenda. those groups are not necessarily the one causing problem in Nigeria. In fact, some of them are the ones demanding for good governance, like Afenifere and others. As for can, until we open the can, we don't know what is contained in the can. They can answer for themselves.
Now, let me ask you, because you talked about religion in this interview in The Punch, and you said that you hated religion with a passion, that Jesus did not start a religion. Will you say, like Desmond Tutu said, that God is not a Christian and that it doesn't matter that non-Christians, they have a equal chance of making it to heaven?
Andrew, I will not put it that way because I'm a Christian. I have many members of my family who are non-Christians, who are Muslims, but I won't put it the way Bishop Desmond Tutu put it, because the sacrifice of Jesus would then be in vain. It came to save the whole world, whether you're a Buddhist or you're a Muslim. It came to die for the sin of mankind. And everyone who believes in his death, burial, resurrection as substitutionary for him or for her is saved and will be born again to begin to live the life. Let me put it this way. Jesus did not come here to start a religion. The word Christian was not given to the church by God or by Jesus. It was those who saw them in Antioch, that they were talking, behaving like Christ, that gave them the label Christians. The label God gave his children as sons and daughters. As many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. And look at the issue of corruption. Romans chapter 8 says, when the sons of God manifest, and they fully manifest, they will bring an end to the bondage of corruption. So religion cannot end corruption, because religion itself is corrupt. And that's why you find all kinds of politicians trooping to all kinds of prayer grounds, and nobody is checking where the money they are given is coming from. If we cannot speak truth to power, the money we get from them becomes a blindfold to cause us to be blind to those dark recesses of the souls of men who are gathering together. The time is coming when we will raise the banner and the standard of God's kingdom, that these men are not even fit to come into our midst. It's okay if they repent. It's okay if they live a clean life, because eggs are eggs, some are bad, some are good. But most of those flocking around different mosques and different shrines and different churches, they know where they got their money from, and those accommodating them as guilty as them. The Bible calls them blind, mad dogs.
Now, this week we had Sheikh Gumi, a tape of him saying that Muslims of Kaduna should never allow a situation that will bring about a non-Muslim governor of the state. He even suggested that Allah was the person that caused the crash of the plane that killed the former governor and General Azazi. What do you make of him and people like him with such opinion?
I have not read what you said, and I'm being honest, but anybody that says that needs to be checked. It is unfair to make such comments, because Kaduna is not a Muslim state. Kaduna is part of Nigeria. Nigeria status is secular, and there's no religion. We must be able to live amicably in our nation. Any part of the country anyone chooses to live, he must be free there. I was born in Abeokuta. I was raised in Sokoto. I came back to the south to do my education. They must check and look back that a man like one of the former emirs had a Christian cook who was an Igbo man, who was a sultan of Sokoto. He had a Christian cook. General Muhammadu Buhari, some of his bodyguards, his driver for 10 years is a Christian. He's driven him for more than 10 years, and he's still driving him today. And he's a Christian who goes to church. We should stop such careless religious comments, if indeed he said so. Anyone that is competent and that has all the capabilities to preside over the affairs of the state should do so, whether Muslim or Christian.
Now, in the Punch interview, you said that you once paid the school fees of Obasanjo's children. How is your relationship with Obasanjo now?
I don't have any relationship with him. I said that to portray the fact that I have no hatred whatsoever. And that was the first time I would say it out. I don't necessarily say the things I did for people. One of his wives came to me and said, we have a problem. We won't pay school fees. He was in jail. And I gladly paid because, after all, we thought he was being punished by Abacha. See, if I have any grounds with Obasanjo, is that I've not seen a man endowed and blessed like him by God to leave a permanent record that cannot be erased. There's nobody in our history like him. He didn't do any serious fight in the war. They surrendered the Biafran thing. They surrendered it to him and gave him the document of surrender. He was not the head of state. It was Murtala that was the head of state. He became head of state when Murtala died. He handed over to Shagari. Some 20 years after that, in 1999, the parade commander, on the day that he handed over to Shagari, handed over power to him. He had the greatest opportunity to put Nigeria on a pedestal that will make it great. But he squandered it because of personal interest. And you're going to see more of this. His agenda is not an agenda. In a book just put together by my friend and brother, Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, the accidental public servant, he exposed all the shenanigans of Obasanjo there. Obasanjo betrayed Nigerians, and he's now calling for revolution. I said he'll be the first victim of it if care is not taken.
Do you think that Obasanjo had in him the capacity to do these things you were expecting him to do, like restructure the country? Or, is he not among the people you describe as people promoted beyond their capability?
To be honest with you, somebody corrected me a few days ago who is a relation of his and who is known to them. I went to a public forum for the presentation of a book by one of the angels of Uwu Kingdom, Honorable Chief Ohu Akin Olubade, to mark his centenary. If he had been alive, it would have been his 100th centenary birthday. I was there because the gentleman, I never met him, but was a benefactor who gave 100 sons and daughters scholarship in my penultimate year in the university, and I benefited from that. So I saw it as return on investment. I went there to appreciate his family and to appreciate the legacy he left behind. Now, while there, someone said to me, look, you really don't know that this man does not have the mental capacity for the things you are demanding. For the first time, I'm being told that. I thought he had what it took. He had enough boldness. He had enough courage. I saw him doing some things that will make people know that this man is in charge. But some of the time, it was nothing but bullying people while in office. That was all he did. And braggadocio and just stormed through without doing things. Obasanjo spent a huge sum of money to bring electricity that nothing happened. And the day will come when they will all be brought to book to account for their stewardship.
All right, one last question before I let you go. The 2015 election is coming up. Are we expecting to see you on the ballot or see you? What are we expecting from you? What are you going to be doing to see that the kind of country that you want may happen in Nigeria?
Personally, I have no political ambition. I'm more interested in mobilizing people to demand for what is right. I had never started a political party in my life, and I never joined one until General Muhammadu Buhari asked me to be his running mate. If people ask me to participate and the people are good and I see what the policy and the manifesto and program is all about and they will follow it to the letters, I will offer myself to serve my country in any capacity. But to sit down and be scheming and be stealing in order to do something, I will never be part of that till I see God in glory. 2015 or 2020 or 2019 is not my cup of tea. What is happening today is what concerns me. And I think it's just a blind ambition, inordinate ambition for people who should be rendering services to be quickly thinking of 2015. That's why I said what's about to hit the nation might even frustrate and truncate 2015, not to talk of 2020 anything. Let them render services that they should render. Let them repent and change and begin to serve the people And anyone that is capable and people can see the record of service, they will gladly bring them back into power. Otherwise, people should just be ready for a mass revolt because the army of jobless youth there are going to wreck this nation if their needs are not met and if what concerns them do not concern those in power. It is a risky thing, it's a dangerous thing. The society itself is not safe any longer.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bakare, for talking to us.
It's my pleasure. God bless SaharaTV and more grace, and greet all the people risking their lives and asserting their lives to air opinion of those who matter in society and to balance the opinion here and there, because I know that you do your research very well before you release things on your television and on Sahara reporters' pages. God bless you and more grace.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we are going to continue our discussion where we have an interview with the spokesman of the road safety of Nigeria, and also we have a regular show, Skipping a Rail, Dr. Damages, and we are going to go to South Africa and talk about the African Cup of Nations with a reporter who is there for us. So stay tuned.